Welcome to Reinventing the Arena, the podcast that guides you through the powerful journey of aligning, embodying, and rising into your most authentic self. We dive deep into the transformative power of doing the inner work because the most important relationship you have is the one with yourself. When you align with your authentic self, you naturally attract the relationships and experiences meant for you. I'm your host, Molly Conley, a coach who's passionate about helping you uncover who you truly are using human design, NLP, and self-empowerment tools. Here we explore the art of aligning with your authentic self, embodying your highest potential, and rising above old patterns to create a life that resonates with who you truly are. Whether you're seeking deeper fulfillment in love or your personal journey, this space is designed to inspire your evolution. Together, we'll explore self-discovery, share transformational stories, and uncover the energetic shifts needed to create the love and life you truly desire. This isn't just about change. It's about fully stepping into who you were meant to be. So lady, align, embody, and rise. Welcome to your journey of self-transformation. Welcome to Reinventing the Arena. Welcome back, or if this is your first time joining me on the podcast, welcome. My name is Molly, and I am so glad you're joining me today for the part 2 of the Human Design Energy Center series. Before we get started, I do want to encourage you, if you haven't already, go back and listen to part 1, because in that episode, I covered something really important that's going to make everything we discussed today make a lot more sense. It's the difference between a defined, undefined, and open center. Understanding those 3 distinctions is honestly the foundation for all of the 9 energy centers. So you're going to want that information before we move forward. And since it took a little bit of time to do that in the first episode, I'm not going to cover it here. Also, in part 1, I walked you through the first 5 energy centers, which is the head center, the ajna, the throat, the identity center, and the heart center. I share how each one of those shows up in your life depending on your chart. If you haven't heard it yet, you can find it right before this episode wherever you are listening. Now, for those of you who did listen to part 1, welcome back and thank you for being here. Today, we're going to go into the body. We are covering the solar plexus, the sacral center, the root center, and the spleen. So like I said last time, grab your chart, anything else that you want to take notes with, and then get comfortable so we can get started. Next up is the solar plexus, our emotional center. Here's where you experience passion, the changes in mood, your desires, and I say vulnerability. It is also a very creative center. This is the only center, like I had mentioned before, that is both an awareness center and a motor center. The solar plexus is connected to 4 centers: the throat, the sacral, the heart, and the root center. So 53% of the population has a defined solar plexus. And if you have this defined, here's a secret for you, unless you already know this. You have emotional authority. This is a whole separate topic, but you can find more information in past episodes or even within my blog as needed. That being said, if you have this defined, you have a drive to avoid pain and to feel good always. If you don't feel good, you fall into your not self and you practically demand to go back to feeling good. The back and forth of emotions like this happens naturally, and it's literally like waves on the ocean. It never stops. Emotions continuously move through you, but will be different depending on which other center it's connected to. This is why when we talk about emotional authority, that it's called an emotional wave. One of the main gifts of having a defined solar plexus is that you have access to your feelings, whether you like them or not. If you don't have feelings or emotions, you may have conditioned yourself to numb or disassociate as you're putting up a defensive wall, maybe to protect yourself from something. Eventually, these emotions, these waves will break through the walls, and how they show up is going to depend on the defined channel. There's 2 issues with the defined solar plexus. First, the thought that you're always supposed to be happy. I kind of relate this to girls and women are always supposed to be smiling. It's a bunch of bullshit. But that's my undefined solar plexus right there. This conditioning has been ingrained in you one way or the other, such as a parent to tell you to be happy or thinking that something's wrong with you for not being happy 24/7. Next is the emotional uncertainty, because usually you don't have a clue when these emotions are going to hit you and when they're also going to subside. Now, once you start to play with your design, you can uncover themes and use your strategy and authority to move through your emotions. If you want to go through this on a personal level, we can do that during a reading for sure. So if you have this defined, let's figure out how to practice it. Let's practice accessing your emotions with your defined solar plexus, because this is going to be unique to you. From my experience with working with those who have a defined solar plexus, there seems to be a lot to uncover, whether that's peeling back the conditioning around emotions to even honestly naming the emotions. So let's start with those. When you have an emotion, try to name what emotion it is. Then, can you feel it in your body? If so, where is it? Starting to group your emotions and correlating them into certain experiences could help you with self-management of your emotions. It can also help you figure out how long a wave's going to last, or maybe it's around a certain topic. You can start to look and recognize for those patterns. Next, just let your emotions move through you. Cry, scream, laugh, whatever it is, just make it healthy. When you feel the emotions leave you and bring you back to center, it may be a good time to reflect and journal about the experience, as well as using your authority to make that decision to move forward. On to the undefined solar plexus. Here, 47% of the population do not have it defined. Like I mentioned, my solar plexus is undefined. This means we can have any of the other authorities, and we're called non-emotionals. While we do have our own feelings, we do not consistently have access to them. Instead, we can be taken over by other people's emotions and then amplify them. My husband and I are both non-emotionals, but let me tell you, I can feel when he's irritated or angry or even scattered. In past relationships, I would take the other person's emotions and I would take them on as my own. It didn't matter if that was joy or depression. The emotions took me for a ride and it left me exhausted. Some of the issues with having an undefined or open solar plexus is what I kind of already mentioned. You feel everything. This is people, emotions of a space, the emotional energy of a location. At least that's been my experience. Another one is that you have the self-sabotaging behavior of people-pleasing, and it shows up by not telling the truth. And then lastly, you may feel as if something's wrong with you because you can be seen as unemotional when something bad happens, or, just might not be a culturally appropriate response. Meaning, like, let's say your best friend has a death in the family and you don't cry, you don't sympathize, you're just kind of there. Or you see things going on in the world that impact other people, and it's hard for you to emotionally bring that feeling up of sadness or confusion or anger. Even though we can absorb emotions as undefined or open solar plexus, sometimes, depending on the relationship to the other person or how we view things, means that maybe we don't have an immediate emotional response, and that's okay. So everything I just mentioned of these issues might be a relief to some of us because it validates there's nothing truly wrong with us. It's just kind of our design and how we've experienced things. There's also some really amazing gifts within this center. First, you can access complete peace when you're alone. This is one of my favorite parts of having an undefined solar plexus. When my husband goes to work or has to travel, like right now, he's not here because he's completely in a different state. I actually get excited because my solar plexus will go back to neutral, back to regular old Molly. The peace, the solitude is unimaginable. That being said, the connection to my husband and I have does create a defined solar plexus when we're together. Next, you have access to empathy. because you're an empath. You know how people feel as long as you've removed conditioning for you to access feelings, emotions, and physical sensations. So when working with an undefined or open solar plexus, know that it can take time. But for most of my clients, and honestly for myself, it felt so good to know that those emotions were not mine when I was around others. One thing to start noting are your emotions. When are they yours? And when are they someone else's? This sounds really simple, but the solar plexus can hold a lot of trauma. And you may be stuck in self-sabotaging behaviors like always being the victim or wanting to be in control or even saving the day just so that you don't have to take responsibility for your emotions or avoid them altogether. You may have to slow down your social calendar and spend time alone for you to fully recognize where these emotions are coming from. Okay, moving on to the sacral. The sacral is the most powerful of all four motor centers. It is the center of activity, sustainable energy, and it's the powerhouse of the entire chart. It is known for sexuality, the drive to survive, and creative life force energy. Also, the sacral is connected to 5 other centers: the identity center, the solar plexus, the root, the spleen, and the throat. If you are defined, how your sacral operates for you will be based on which centers it's connected to, just kind of like the throat center. Now, 50% of people have this defined, which makes them either a generator or a manifesting generator. I have this defined, and when I'm in the right place doing something I love to do, like right now, my sacral is on fire. And it's not just because it's hot outside. People with defined sacral are meant to find the right work for them and master it. And I don't mean the hustle culture, master it by the time you're 30 or 40 years old. No. This is a lifelong mastery process. You are meant to be excited about what you are doing so much that your sacral knows when to stop so you can fall asleep. Sometimes that is so hard to tell, but it's true. And then you wake up recharged and ready to go. So let's talk about the gifts. First and foremost, you have so much energy. I want to say, like, I'm visualizing my younger self. And this is a lot of sugar, but picture drinking a Mountain Dew and like also slamming a few pixie sticks for fun. That is the energy of a sacral, okay? You can go and do. You have the capacity to like just run at a high level and then have that drain your battery in such a good way by doing things that you love to do, because this is going to then lean into your signature or your self-theme of satisfaction. Another gift is that you can rely on your sacral, especially if this is your strategy and authority. Your sacral answers to yes and no questions. This is your internal compass in life, and it gives you direction even if your identity center is not defined. Now, wow, this sounds amazing. There are issues with a defined sacral, and the most common issue I see and previously experienced in myself is not listening to your damn sacral. A lot of people override their internal yeses and nos, and they rely on their head and or ajna center to make logical decisions, or they can even rely on their identity center, heart center, or even solar plexus to make relationship and emotional decisions. Listening to your sacral, especially because it's defined, is a practice that can take time. But once you have developed a relationship with it, you will develop a trust within yourself you may never have experienced previously. Now, another issue paired with listening to your sacral is not waiting to respond. If you have sacral authority, you may override your sacral and might not even be aware of it communicating with you. Now, the next 3 issues are ones that I experience quite often and have seen in my clients as well. First, burnout can happen, especially if you're doing something you don't want to do over and over again. I know I've mentioned burnout quite a few times. I'm actually going to be bringing it up again when we talk about the root center, but I highly recommend this book. It's called Burnout: The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. I loved that book so much. There's so many underlines in my book at home with it. I used that before I even started exploring human design. So like I said, highly recommend it. Next, there's the not self theme of frustration. This builds into so much of the energy type of hitting a plateau. If you're a generator or a manifesting generator, well, but specifically a generator, hitting a plateau is honestly very normal. And if you use your strategy and authority, you will realize one of two things. A, it's time to give up, or B, you're about to level up. This is part of that mastery learning curve, so patience is needed and really waiting for your sacral to guide you. Last but not least, people take advantage of your energy. This can look like your boss asking you to work late or persuading you to take on a high-stakes project. It can look like people guilt-tripping you to do something you don't want to do. It can even be people that use your energy for them to ride a high on. That last one has hit me numerous times, some good and not so good. So when I swam in college, as you might have known, if you've been here for a while, I was a college athlete, and being around some friends was amazing. And we just had this drive that clicked when we were together, which, as an athlete is really needed. When our college swimming career was over, I didn't see how some of my friends could just slowly give up things and have zero energy to do pretty much anything. Little did I know that some of them didn't have a defined sacral. Another example has been a few previous acquaintances or friends in my life who always would say like they loved being around me, they loved being in my energy. These people would constantly use me by asking for advice very often, asking for free coaching, or even just being, around so I could show them how to do something that I was skilled at. When I would leave, I would feel so tired and drained. Practicing discernment as well as checking in with your sacral is key to making sure these situations don't happen to you. So how do you work with a defined sacral? Start learning how to activate and listen to it. Have someone ask you yes or no questions. I have said this before, but doing this with food is my favorite. If food is not your thing, maybe it is, do you want to watch a movie? Do you want to ride bikes? Do you want to go dancing? Make sure there's a pause after these questions to really feel the sensation of a yes. And yes, it is true. You will feel it in your body. But if you don't feel anything, that's usually a no or a not yet. As you work with your sacral, you will be able to determine what those feel like to you. I've been thinking about holding a workshop for those of us that have a defined sacral so we can experiment with activating them in real time. If this is something you may be interested in, please reach out to me. What happens if you have an undefined sacral? Well, you are 30% of the population affected by those with the defined sacral, and it can be exhausting. Please know you are someone who definitely needs rest and time away from those of us with a defined sacral because you need to be in your energy, and that is sacred. Issues that come up for those with an undefined or open sacral include feeling overwhelmed, feeling pressure to do something all of the time. You are also susceptible to burnout. You don't know when enough is enough. Not being able to tap into, your own timing of things. And you can easily hijack yourself into a defined sacral, causing multiple issues for you. Feeling the pressure to do the things, being overwhelmed, and not knowing when enough is enough is going to lead to burnout, especially when our society tells us that this is what we're supposed to be like. The conditioning factor is real for projectors, manifestors, and reflectors, and it sucks. Man, it sucks. Those three energy types are special within themselves, and it can really be beneficial not only for them to have time away, but also because their gifts are really helpful to generators and manifesting generators if we just let them be them. Because of the conditioning, you may have quite a bit of limiting beliefs to work through. For example, a client of mine ran her chart to find out that she was a projector, but she told me it was wrong because she acted like a generator. We discussed a variety of issues with some of her centers to then experiment with her energy. Now, this included taking a solo vacation away from her family, and let's just say she realized how much she was affected by the constant movement once she was able to be on her own energy. Now, if you're a parent who has an undefined or open sacral and your child or children have defined sacral, you will need to make boundaries with your energy in order to care for yourself and then be able to show up for your children. This goes for your partner as well. Moving on to the gifts of the undefined and open sacral. You have the most amazing gift of relaxing. Yes, I said it. Relaxing. It is your true nature. You also have the gift of ease. There is no need to hurry. You have the capacity to bring ease to others as long as you're staying energetically clear from pressure to do something that is not yours to do. Lastly, you have the gift of wisdom about when to impact, guide, or reflect depending on your energy type. Overall, you are more about being than doing. So here's what I suggest you practice with having an undefined or open sacral. Rest. Rest is relaxing. Honor downtime, especially before bed. Read a book, lounge on the couch, be away from everyone else. But honestly, do pretty much nothing an hour before bed and see how much that impacts your energy. Next, make sure you tap into your strategy and authority to really bring out that wisdom and that sense of ease. All right, the root center. This is the center that drives us into action and is connected to 3 other centers: the spleen, the sacral, and the solar plexus. And remember, it's a pressure center. It is all adrenaline and stress sort of energy. Honestly, it's not my favorite. How you process stress will be unique to your definition or lack of, as well as other areas of your chart. Now, no matter what, timing is the name of the game when it comes to the root center, as the energy here actually pulses. So it pulses on and off when you actually have a defined center, which, let's get into that. 60% of you have a defined root center. You are designed to tolerate pressure, gather it, and then use it to be of service by empowering others. Gifts here include having consistent access to drive, even if it pulses. So you can tolerate pressure in a variety of ways. And then you can focus your driven energy to get things done. Of course, review the theme of this drive by looking at what centers are defined in connection with the root center. I do want to highlight that tolerating pressure is something to practice before I get into the issues here. You must follow your strategy to know if you even need to play with this pressure. Otherwise, you'll have numerous issues, numerous fires, as I'm about to discuss. The issues of a defined root center include the push to do, to create, to initiate. And that push can be a problem for you and those around you. Here, you're at risk of major burnout, especially when you don't trust the timing of your strategy. You can also push yourself to do things you don't want to do, just like the sacral. While this sounds great for when you push yourself to get chores done or a project you hate at work, you can really lose your cool. Patience goes out the window, and depending on your energy type, things can escalate from there. When you do this enough, you'll start to realize that you can't actually motivate yourself to do any of those things, which sounds wonderful at first, because you're gaining awareness, but then you start to have to trust timing, trusting yourself, and setting real boundaries about what you want to do and for who. The biggest practice is learning your strategy. For most of us, that includes waiting. If you're a manifester with a defined root, you must pay attention to the pulse that it's time to inform others before you take action. Honing your strategy will greatly improve your timing and your self-trust. Moving on to the undefined and open root center. 40% of the population don't have the root center defined. I am one of those. As you can imagine, having an undefined or open root can be tough. You are constantly bombarded with pressure and stress in your daily life. Like the undefined or open solar plexus, recognizing that most of the pressure and stress you feel is not yours. The issues of having an undefined or open root include taking on stress from people in the environment, like think of a toxic workplace. You are extremely susceptible to burnout more than any other undefined or open center. And since this is the pressure center to do, you will more than likely have difficulty starting things. Most of the issues I have seen and honestly experienced as well is when those with an undefined or open root are in a relationship or close partnership with someone that has a defined root. This can be terribly exhausting. You have constant drive around these people, but you don't know how to really relax or get out of that energy, which will then turn inward to yourself. When that happens, you are thinking something is wrong with you because you can't achieve like your partner does or live up to their expectations. This leads you to feeling overwhelmed. You can also get addicted to this energy and become like the rebel in the relationship. And that means that you might make decisions that put you not in the greatest situations. And what about starting things? Well, if you're not a manifester, you're not supposed to. You were supposed to wait depending on your strategy. If you had definition and you weren't a manifester, you would still need to wait for the right time to start something. Of course, you might be wondering what the gifts are if you don't have this energy. Well, you get to be wise about what activities are actually worth doing. Having that awareness is key. And if you are with a partner who has a defined root, you will be able to segment what things you like to do that can help release pressure. Another side note about being wise includes a variety of ways that you can work with and process stress. Get creative with this one. Like I said it earlier, practice recognizing where the pressure is coming from. Usually start with the people around you and then even locations. That way you can determine what inward pressures are being activated, such as limiting beliefs. These could be areas to work through in a supportive environment like coaching to help release the pressure you feel. Another would be similar to the solar plexus. Let the pressures move through you. By pausing when pressure arrives, it's actually going to strengthen your ability to become open and resilient to outside pressure. Okay, last but not least, we have the spleen. This is an interesting awareness center because it has 4 unique themes. Those are fear, intuition, well-being or health, and time. Being present is one of the best ways to work with the spleen as it helps you move out of fear, whether that's defined or undefined. The spleen also allows you to be spontaneous in the present moment as long as you're not taken over by fear. Also, it can connect to 5 other centers: the root, sacral, identity center, heart center, and throat center. 55% of people have it defined, and that means you have consistent access to your intuition. I have this defined, and I will say that even though this is true, you still have to learn how to not only notice it, but listen to it and use it. Being aware of your body within your current environment is key to having access to your intuition, as it will also help you use your strategy moving forward. Gifts include having access to your intuition, the ability to be aware by using your senses to be alert in the present moment, and usually you're healthy with a strong immune system. With all of these, you have to follow your strategy and authority to really hone these gifts. Oh, and then depending on how your spleen is defined will determine the theme as well as the channel that helps bring out your intuition. As for your health, I will say that other areas of your chart can also impact your health, but if you've been using your strategy and authority, you will usually feel healthy and be healthy, whatever that looks like to you. So what are some of the issues? Well, you can take your health for granted and push yourself to override your intuition when it tells you that you need a break. This is especially important if you have an undefined root center, so pay attention to the undefined or open centers in your chart and how that might be affecting your health. Another issue is that you're allowing your mind to make decisions, or you are thinking that your mind is your intuition. Personally, this was one of my biggest issues that I've had to work through in order to access my intuition. I even have the most intuitive gate in the entire chart, and that's gate 57. And it still took me years to move away from the conditioning of using my mind, thinking that that was intuition. How can you practice accessing your gifts of the spleen? First, always get back into your body and take care of it. Move it. Let yourself rest, sleep, eat healthy, and drink water over anything else to get it back to its vibrant state. Making a home within yourself is key to accessing your intuition. And number 2, one of my favorite ways to get in touch with my intuition is meditation. If you have an undefined or open head and ajna, this is going to be really helpful for you as well. Now, 45% of the population have an undefined spleen, and the biggest concern to be aware of is that you're sensitive. And I don't mean emotionally or hypothetically energetically. You have a sensitive physical body. What you do, what you eat, what you drink, it all affects your health, but more so with those with an undefined or even open spleen. You will more than likely be someone who gets sick more often than others for a variety of reasons. The plus side is that you are more bodily aware of when you're getting sick, as long as you begin to recognize those patterns. Now, let's move into the other issues of having an undefined spleen. Because of your sensitivity, you can take in other people's sickness, amplify it, and take it as your own. You can also take in and amplify everyone else's fears and even start to embody their anxiety. Time, it can be your worst enemy. You either lose track of time or you feel pressured by time. You also hold on to people, beliefs, relationships, careers, and just, things longer than you should, and you know it. You don't feel like you can do what it takes to get through something or survive hardship. If you become spontaneous or caught up in excitement from others, it can have a negative effect on you and your health. If you try to make decisions from your spleen, they don't work. I have noticed with those with undefined spleens really do best when they take care of their health. When they do, it helps dissipate fears and allows them to follow their strategy and authority. Having good boundaries with their health and what is healthy for them is a must. Let's say you always wanted to quit drinking or you want to become vegan. Test it out for a month or even 3 to see how you physically feel and how that energetically shifts things. Maybe you realize quitting drinking is allowing your other gifts to come through. Maybe going vegan is allowing you to show up more authentically. Whatever it is, putting your health first will really allow you to tackle other themes of the spleen like fears and your relationship with time. Okay, so the gifts of the undefined spleen piggyback off the issues. First, you're able to discern what is yours and what is not, but only when you're healthy. You're also able to pick up what is healthy for others, which is a gift of wisdom. You can be a deeply intuitive healer. And last but not least, of course, you are highly intuitive when you are not stuck in fear or the fear of others. Here you can take in and amplify the present moment. You will know what is needed and will be able to respond with clarity and wisdom. So what can you do with your undefined spleen? Other than the health things that I mentioned, why don't you look at your fears? Maybe you have a fear around health and maybe time that stands out to you. List them out and start to review how true they are to who you're becoming. Are you holding on to past fears? If so, are you holding on to them because it's part of your identity? Or maybe it's a fear your partner has or your family members have. Start to work your way through your fears to see which are true and which ones really need to be released. If you have a difficulty working through your fears, schedule a connection call so we can discuss if coaching would be helpful for you. All right, that is it on this part 2 of the Human Design Energy Centers. And honestly, I am so glad my sacral nudged me to record this one when it did. We covered the solar plexus, the sacral, the root, and the spleen today. And between both parts of this series, you now have a really good, solid foundation of understanding all 9 of your energy centers and what they mean specifically for you. Now, this is where the real work begins, and that is where embodiment comes in. Knowing your design is one thing, but actually living it is a whole nother journey. If you are ready to go deeper and you want that support while you do it, I want to remind you that the 3rd round of embodiment mentorship starts June 1st. I know that's still a few months away, but applications are going to be reviewed starting May 1st, and there are only 2 spots available. So if this has been calling you, now is really the time, as I'm not going to be offering it again for the rest of the year. The link to apply is in the show notes. And if mentorship feels like a big step right now, but you still want personalized support, coaching might be exactly what you need. I will only have 2 spots remaining for one-on-one coaching clients until the fall, so head over to the show notes to learn more and set up a connection call with me. As always, if you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who you think needs to hear it or actually wants to learn about human design. I will be back next week with my husband, Brad, and I cannot wait to share what we discussed on our conversation about our connection chart. I will talk to you soon. Thank you, lady, for joining me on this journey of aligning, embodying, and rising into your most authentic self. Remember, the most important relationship you have is the one you have with yourself. And when you do the inner work, you naturally attract the love and life meant for you. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to rate and review the show. Your feedback not only helps more women discover the power of self-transformation, but also helps us grow this community. If you're ready to go deeper and align with a relationship and life you truly desire, I invite you to explore my coaching services. Together, we'll use human design, NLP techniques, and self-empowerment tools to help you break through old patterns and create a life that resonates with who you truly are. Visit reinventingthearena.com to learn more and take the next steps in your journey of self-discovery and alignment. Until next time, lady, keep aligning, keep embodying, and keep rising. Thanks for listening to Reinventing the Arena.